Well, Colorado held its GOP caucus this weekend. Oh, no, wait. It was canceled. I'm sorry. Oh, here it is right here. Denver Post, Colorado Republicans cancel the presidential vote at the 2016 caucus.
So they're competing to join the Republican Party as our nominee, depending on what the delegates decide to do or who wins the requisite amount of delegates.
Well, sort of.
And whoever
but they're competing.
joins. That's what they're doing, though. They're competing to be the nominee of the Republican Party.
Yes,
That's
but they're
happening.
competing to become the president of the United States. And so they are looking for voters, all voters,
right,
to vote for them. I mean, my point is this, Ron.
Yeah, good question, Curly. See, the GOP has been telling you for a very long time that these elections mean something, but you ought to understand by now they don't. They're just a head fake. It's just a beard for them to do whatever they wish to do. Take a look at this article. They admit it. They say, well, you know, it means that the caucus is going to lose a lot of its hype. You know, it also means that they're going to lose a lot of advertising money for the local economy. That's how you scratch my back, I scratch yours. That's what the major political parties do with the mainstream media. They spend tons and tons of money on these political ads, and it just isn't working for them very well this year. Having a lot of trouble getting the donors to cough up the cash. So let's just forget the charade. Let's just go right to the selection process, because it's not an election, it's a selection. The Denver Post said there was an effort earlier this year to switch to a presidential primary system, but it failed. Why? Because of fighting within the party. See, they already had a caucus system. Some people wanted to make something that was a little bit more transparent, a little bit more honest, but instead they decided to go the other way, even abandoning the caucus. And as one political science lecturer at the University of Georgia says, it's an odd scenario. It's not to say the campaigns won't be there. There just won't be a good reflection of support. You see, they're not pretending to care anymore. Trump may have the most votes so far, but
all he has going for him is a lot of votes. Why hasn't any of that hit home?
That's right. All he has is a bunch of votes, representing a bunch of voters, and they can just throw that out. You see, the rhinos have gone full RICO. Remember, racketeered influence and corrupt organizations? We created a law that was supposed to get rid of the mafia. The Bush crime family is not a metaphor. It's not a hyperbole. It's a reality. Same as the Clinton crime family. If we get rid of the Clintons and the Bushes, though, the system is still rigged by these two mafia organizations, the GOP and the Democrats. It doesn't matter if you got the Gambinos or the Gottis. You can get different families in there. It's the system. It's the mafia system that we have. Just look at this headline from Bloomberg. Cruz campaign outmuscles Trump in a 34-delegate Colorado sweep. See, they didn't steal it. They outmuscled him. They even talk like they're mafia gangsters. And then the New York Times tries to sell it to us and says, well, the campaigns seek delegates and ordinary voters feel sidelined. No, it's just an ordinary process. You shouldn't feel hurt about this. You need to understand this is the way they run the campaign. See, the New York Times, the mainstream media, wants you to get over that feeling that you're being screwed. Okay, that they're lying to you. They say if supporters of Trump and Sanders feel stymied by the delegate process, it's because it was designed years ago, precisely to make sure that candidates like them didn't become the nominee. See, they aren't the insiders. They don't toe the line on the important policies. And the important policies this year are the global trade treaties, climate change, and open borders. Now, Bernie does it on two of those, but he's not there on one of those, and that's enough to keep him out. They go on and say, like any private members-only club, this is New York Times writing about this. See, this is the club. This is the club. And remember what George Carlin said.
It's a big club, and you ain't in it. You and I are not in the big club. The owners of this country know the truth. It's called the American dream, because you have to be asleep to believe it.
Again, it's a private club and you ain't in it. They say the political parties are not official government entities. No, they just play them on television. If they're not official government entities, then why are they allowed to control the ballot access? Why are they allowed to control access to the debates? That's even more obvious. It's the Republicans and Democrats who took over that process because the League of Women Voters screwed up. They let people like Ross Perot in. You can't have that. So they took over the debate process, and quite frankly, they run the entire ball of wax. And we need to understand, and we need to look at this. This isn't just a moral or ethical issue. This truly is, I believe, a criminal issue. These people are running this as a racketeered organization, a corrupt organization. They say that it's a private party when it suits their needs, but then they act as if they're government entities when it suits their needs to be that way. They say that it's a private party, and so they can discriminate as they wish. They can throw out the votes of anyone and any group that they want to. And yet they are open to the public. We see over and over again. Look at the egregious, I think they crossed over the line when they came after bakers and said, no, you've got an open business, so we're going to force you not to discriminate. But they let the GOP and the Democrats get away with that. They also are accepting government subsidies, government funds. You can't discriminate when you do that sort of thing. Now, Donald Trump says, yeah, the process is corrupt on both sides. He accurately said, hey, I watch Bernie, he wins, he keeps winning. Then I see he's got no chance. They always say, he's got no chance. Why doesn't he have a chance? He said, because the system is corrupt. And it's even worse on the Republican side, he said. I'm not a fan of Bernie. I couldn't care less as far as I'm concerned. I couldn't care less about Bernie, but he wins, and he wins like me.
We've got a corrupt system. It's not right. We're supposed to be a democracy. We're supposed to be, you vote and the vote means something, all right? You vote and the vote means something.
We ought to all be concerned about this, regardless of where you are on the issues, regardless of whether you like Bernie Sanders or Donald Trump. You should not be supporting a corrupt system. And the thing that bothers me so much is that I see Republicans, many of them entranced by the public piety of Ted Cruz, falling in lockstep behind this unethical, immoral, and I believe illegal process. But at the very least, it's unethical and immoral, saying it's simply politics. No, it's not. If you vote to send Mr. Smith to Washington, you don't expect them to send Mr. Jones. If you voted for a Democrat, you don't expect them to send a Republican, or vice versa. You vote for a Republican, they send a Democrat. This is not like you are lobbying your representative in Congress with a representative republic. No, it's not that. They've been elected for one issue and one issue only, and they are subverting this issue. That's all this is. It's not politics as usual. This is not somebody that's going to represent you on a lot of different issues. Look at how it worked for Bernie. The New York Post points out it's a rigged race. Not our characterization, but it is certainly true. I would characterize it the same way. The New York Post says, rigged race means Hillary takes more delegates than Bernie's Wyoming went. It's a different state, it's a different party, but it's the same game. Look at what happened. He beat Hillary Clinton by 56 to 44. He beat her by 12 points. That means that he had 27% more votes. But who got more delegates? Hillary got 57% of the delegates. So he got 27% more of the popular vote, but they split the popular vote 7-7. Then she got 4 superdelegates, means she got 11 delegates, he got 7. He gets 27% more of the votes, she gets 57% more of the delegates. Totally upside down. Politico reports the Colorado GOP deletes their Never Trump tweet. Moments after announcing Ted Cruz has swept all 34 delegates at the Colorado GOP convention on Saturday, the state party tweeted, "We did it! Never Trump!" And then they deleted that. They said, wait, we didn't do that. Somebody else did it. They blamed it on a couple of young Republican operatives, but they both said they don't have access to it. They had nothing to do with it. This isn't something we haven't seen the party leadership continually doing. They're open about this. It's been unprecedented what the press has done. When we see the Onion headlines from the Boston Herald, when we see the National Review dedicate an entire issue as an attack piece against one candidate. It is unprecedented what we've seen. And the reason you're seeing it is not because of who Donald Trump is, but because he opposes them on the issues. He opposes them on their neocon wars. He opposes them on their globalist trade. Both of these issues are destroying our country by design. And the establishment of the Democrats and Republicans are both together on those issues. Now, the thing that I thought was interesting about this Politico article is that they don't spend a lot of time about that tweet. That's the headline of the tweet. But then they spend at least half of the article talking about the fact that this one guy's name did not appear on the ballot. Now, there were a lot of people who didn't appear on the ballot. Many, many Trump delegates did not appear on this delegate ballot that was done by the insiders. They had Cruz delegates put on there. But that doesn't matter. The thing they were concerned about was that this one particular individual, his name is Larry Singer, brother of Paul Singer, a Wall Street financial backer of the GOP to the tune of tens of millions of dollars. And this is the way they explain this. They say, well, they found out that his name was on there. They were very concerned about this. It's going to have a very lasting impact, according to Politico. So the person who was in charge of this tried to remedy the problem by putting his name on the ballot to run as one of the 13 at-large delegate slots that were up for grabs. So immediately he makes special concessions for this guy. Larry Singer, they say, well, he is, they say, unlike all the other delegate candidates in one way. He's a brother of Paul Singer, the New York City hedge fund magnate, one of the conservative movement's most coveted donors, a seven-figure contributor, et cetera, et cetera. And here's the money quote, the literal money quote from one local GOP operative. He says, this is the one guy who wants to get on, who the party should recognize we need to get on, because he basically pays for all of this. There you go. They're bought and paid for. And what really concerns me is how upfront they are about this. Yeah, he's paid for. And we're fine about the fact that we're stealing the delegates, even bragging about it. And of course, red state is one of the worst ones. Here, look at these headlines. Breaking, North Carolina delegate disaster brewing. John Kasich leads Donald Trump. Now in North Carolina, the real results were that Donald Trump got 40% of the vote, but he's going to get 4% of the delegates. He's getting 4% so far. Cruz got 37% of the delegates, but he's getting 88% so far, okay? And they've got almost all of the delegates allocated in North Carolina. In South Carolina, where Trump skunked everyone, he got, even though it was a proportional election, he got every single delegate in the election. But then when it comes to the selection, the GOP establishment is handing it to Ted Cruz. Same story there. Doing the same thing in districts in Virginia where Trump did very well. And then Politico says this, Trump is getting trounced in Indiana. Wait a minute. Indiana hasn't voted yet. Yeah, see, it doesn't matter. They're already spreading the delegates out even before they have the election. As they say, Indiana hasn't cast its ballots for president yet, but Trump is already losing. Republican Party insiders in the state will select 27 delegates to the National Convention. Let me repeat that. Republican Party insiders will select the delegates. Remember, they're trying to join us. It's our private party, even though we are running it with all the power of government. Trump is assured to be nearly shut out of support, according to interviews with a dozen party leaders and officials involved in the delegate selection process. You get that? A dozen insiders.